of sticking with our no-carb cocktails theme, we thought that this week we would give a try to making some skinny cocktails.
Yeah, so basically we're going to take normal cocktails, experiment on them by just basically removing all the sugar and see how they turn out. It could go great or it could be super, super terrible.
Probably both.
Probably a little both. So the first cocktail that we're going to make is the classic whiskey sour. It's just generally an easy cocktail to kind of master and kind of make your own. So the template for a sour is
211.
211.
And we're going to start this one with a simple whiskey sour. Basically a whiskey sour without egg whites, but we're also going to try it with egg whites too, just to see what happens, because egg whites are conveniently no carb.
They are, and a good source of protein.
That's very true, very true. So we're going to start with a classic whiskey sour. This is a 211 cocktail, which typically means 2 ounces of spirit, 1 ounce of simple syrup or sweetener, and 1 ounce of acid, which in this case would be lemon.
Right. So I already know that the acid is going to be pretty sharp, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of calm down the acid. I'm going to take some of it out. So I'm going to go ahead and put 2 ounces of bourbon right into the jigger. Then half an ounce of lemon juice. Ooh, cheers! We're just going to kind of taste it for balance. I already know it's going to be pretty sharp, but I do want the lemon juice there to balance out the drink. So would you mind filling this guy up? We'll give it a shake.
See if I can avoid spilling. Not bad.
Masterful. There we go.
Is that enough ice?
Yeah, I think that's plenty.
Okay.
All right. And now we're just going to give it a shake. Cool. Not really much to find right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and dump this right in. And then we can top it with a little bit of fresh ice. Like I said, the whiskey sour is one of my favorite, just simple drinks. I usually start as a kind of a platform to modify from. Actually, would you mind tasting this?
I would not. Woo! It's tart. I did expect that, but it is definitely on the tart side. It's not bad. I do think I do think that is something that you could certainly drink, especially if you're one who tends to like your drinks on the tart side. But there's no question it is not what I would consider balanced.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, it could definitely use something.
Something like that.
Something like sugar.
Maybe some simple syrup, something like that. No, but I think it's a good thing to start with. It's not bad. Again, just know what you're getting into. It's the bitterness from the citrus really comes through. The tartness from the citrus really comes through. Mm-hmm. And I would say it actually kind of overwhelms the whiskey too.
Yeah, it's pretty sharp. And we took this down by 50%, so you could even take it down a little bit further and maybe do like 1/3 of an ounce.
Now, what would you say about in this cocktail? Obviously, when you're making it with simple syrup, you're also adding water.
You are.
Because the simple syrup has water in it. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you think would help mitigate the problem?
It could. It could probably mute or kind of make it less intense because you're kind of watering everything down. So it might be something worth trying, or maybe just shake it longer.
That would
add more water to it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you say we give it a try with some egg whites?
Okay, let's try it. All right, so we're going to use the same exact recipe. So 2 ounces of bourbon, just so we can taste them side by side and see what we come up with. There's 2 ounces there. And do half an ounce of lemon juice again. Perfect. Get a little squirt. I dumped some out. Alrighty, and
it's needed cleaning anyway.
We're gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of egg whites. So just crack a fresh egg here. Never is as simple as you expect it to.
A lot of recipes call for a whole egg white, but that's a little bit unfair because eggs come in a lot of different sizes. So one of the things Chris has talked about before is to just aim for 3/4 of an ounce on your egg white because that's just kind of a good standard to go with. But more importantly, just choose a standard to go with and just be consistent with your recipes. Otherwise, different bartenders are gonna end up with very different drinks.
Yeah, actually, do you mind topping this off with ice again?
Oh.
Yeah, and 3/4 of an ounce is a good place to start. Usually what happens if you add more, that I've noticed, is the egg white kind of dominates the cocktail. And egg whites in general have a tendency to kind of mute other flavors. So that's kind of the approach we're taking with this. We're hoping it's kind of calm down some of that lemon juice.
Yeah.
And not make it so bitey.
Yeah, make it a little less astringent.
Right. So here we go.
See.
Ooh, frothy. And I'm going to go ahead and fine strain this just because we added the egg whites.
You can already see it's a lot creamier. You want ice in that guy?
Yeah, let's top it off with some fresh ice. And go from there.
All right.
All right, you mind giving us a drink?
So obviously this one isn't quite as recently made as this one, but you can see the difference in the froth already. I'll put these up here. Hopefully those are in focus. You definitely have a nice frothy top on this one. I think it looks pretty good.
It looks great, yeah.
Now for the real question. Oh, it's still pretty tart. It's creamier. I mean, it's definitely got that sort of velvety texture that comes with the egg whites, but I don't know that it really solved our problem.
It took a little bit of the edge off. Drinking them side by side, you can see it has a little bit of effect.
Oh, well, we keep doing that.
Yeah.
It's pretty tart. They're both pretty tart.
It's enamel stripping.
Yeah.
Right off the teeth.
Yeah, the good news is you'll never have to brush your teeth again.
Just drink whiskey sour without simple syrup.
Ooh.
Dennis will be so proud of you.
I know, right? So I don't know if I would call either one of these a winner.
I wouldn't say it's a winner. No, absolutely not.
I mean, this one looks better in my opinion, but it has another problem, which you probably can't see from there.
Right. So we actually made this beforehand, just to kind of test it out. And the problem that you run into without using simple syrup and using egg whites is that the lemon juice cooks your egg whites.
If you ever had ceviche, the acid, it kind of cooks those raw ingredients by using just the nature of the acid itself. And the same thing is happening here with your egg white. So while it's kind of hard to see from there, if you were to take a look into that fine strainer, or if you were to look closely at the bottom of this glass, you'd see some little white chunks in there, which is a bonus. Free scrambled eggs.
Free appetizer with every cocktail.
Not really the visual that you're probably looking for.
Pretty gross.
I mean, I don't know that you don't taste it. It's not so much that you're gonna just like get them stuck in your teeth or anything, but it's not very appetizing to look at. And again, the flavor isn't quite there. If it was absolutely perfect and tasted delicious, I might be willing to kind of look the other way, metaphorically and really.
Literally, yeah.
But in this case, I don't know that it's worth it.
Yeah, and I think the longer that this sits, the more that I can already see it now for me.
It's getting chunky.
Yeah, so you're gonna end up with a hot mess, or a cold mess in this case.
So anyway, that is our sugar-free whiskey sour. I would go ahead and say that's probably not a winner. Not something that I would advise putting on your cocktail menu. If you want to give it a try for yourself, go to town.
Would not recommend to a friend.
Yeah,
no.
Probably. 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
So the sour was a bit of a dud. Something you could definitely drink if your life depended on it, but maybe not on purpose. The next up is something that I think is a little bit more common, and that is a mojito. One could argue it's a little bit of a sour, one could argue it's a little bit of a fizz, maybe a Rickey, but you're more than welcome to argue. I don't really think it matters. We're gonna start with a mojito recipe, take out the sweetener, and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. It's like drawing or splitting hairs at that point. But this is a great platform, we're hoping, for a nice no-calorie cocktail. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put about 10 leaves into the glass.
The nice thing about this cocktail is what a lot of no sugar cocktails lack is flavor and sort of interest. you end up with very one-dimensional cocktails. You have a vodka soda, not much going on there. You have a whiskey soda, not much going on there. By adding a whole bunch of mint, you really get a lot more flavor, you get some aroma. It makes things a little bit more interesting without adding carbs.
It's true, yeah.
That's why we have high hopes. We'll have to see how that goes.
Well, and the thing to remember about mint, I'm sure everyone saw me kind of just give it a muddle. You don't want to muddle it too much because it actually makes the mint very bitter.
Yeah.
So you just really want to lightly press on it, and you'll smell the aroma and you know you're kind of done. I know a lot of people will actually just basically put it in their hand, smack it, and then drop it in the cocktail. Yeah. You don't really need to beat this stuff up. You're not making salsa.
And a common mistake with the mojito, and frankly with a lot of muddlers on the market, is that they'll have little jagged, pointy ends on the end of the muddler. It looks kind of stabby, frankly.
Little medieval, yeah.
It looks like a torture device. And they'll go ahead and put the mint in the glass and just actually grind on it with this stabby end. And what that ends up doing is it turns your drink bitter. Because the leaves, the green parts of the leaves are where a lot of that beautiful, like the flavor, the aroma, all that lives. But once you're really grinding down on it, you get down into the sort of the sticks and the ribs of them. That's where all the bitterness lives.
Right.
So you really don't want to be that aggressive. You want to be a little bit gentle with your mint. And then that's why our muddler actually has a flat end to it, because it's frankly pretty hard to get to the point of bitterness when you have a flat end. So, again, a little bit of a soapbox on my part. But we found that works pretty well.
Yeah, so do you mind adding a bunch of ice to that and then grabbing the soda water, please?
You were waiting for my little rant to be over.
It's worth it. I mean, the Julia rants are always good.
I think this is going to stick. Uh-oh. We got a little bit of sticky ice here.
Nothing worse than sticky ice.
Everybody hates the sticky ice. Once more feeling. There we go.
Great, and so now we're just going to go ahead and top this all off with some soda water.
There you go. I love that sound.
One of the things that you may notice when you're making a cocktail like this is that it'll be a little bit more effervescent and more carbonated than if you were to add simple syrup. And simple syrup weighs everything down. This is going to be a lot brighter. It's going to be a lot more carbonated. So
I mean, you can already see it. This one's got a lot of bubbles to it. It looks nice.
Ooh!
I'm afraid.
So good.
I have concerns.
I will say that the whiskey sour variant
that's a lot
fell
better.
off. It didn't hit its mark. This is pretty good.
That's actually really good.
Yeah.
This one's nowhere near as sort of stab you in the tongue as Chris would say.
I do say that.
Honestly, I would absolutely drink this. It definitely is begging for a lawn chair, maybe a beach, maybe at least a poolside, different little aroma of chlorine in the air.
I can see that.
Yeah, it really adds to the experience.
Yeah.
But the flavor's there. I think the mint comes through beautifully, and it doesn't taste to me like it's lacking. And I don't get any chunks of, half-cooked egg.
That's pretty good. I like that a lot.
Plus, new glass, right? I'm digging it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy with this one.
Yeah. We gotta go. We're gonna go finish this cocktail real quick. But the rum comes through, the citrus is there. You might actually want to dial it back a little bit more. So maybe I did 3/4 of an ounce in this recipe. You may want to take it down to 1/2 ounce.
That's a matter of preference, so it's just
it really
right
is.
For me.
I don't think it's overpowering with the citrus at all.
Agreed.
But it is really carbonated. It's really bright on the carbonation, so it drinks a lot lighter than like a classic mojito would.
So there you have it.
I'd say that's a win.
I'd say this one is a win. So that's a skinny mojito the old-fashioned way, and by that I mean just by omitting the non-skinny parts.
Exactly.
So we tried a couple different cocktail recipes today. We tried the classic sour, we tried the egg white sour, and then we tried the Rickey, Fizz, Mojito, whatever you want to call it. I would say we had 1 win and 2 not so much.
Yeah, they were pretty terrible. So I'd say, in general, the sours as a cocktail family don't really work without that sweet counterpart
It's a really key part
to balance it out. Right, exactly. And the egg white was just a terrible idea. Would not recommend it.
I mean, it looks great. You just have to really keep some distance so you can't see the little floaters.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. So I'd say, in general, stay away from the sours if you're going to go with a no-sugar cocktail. And I think, in general, the mojito-style cocktail, the Rickey, Fizz, modified sour, whatever you want to call it, is a great platform for experimentation. I think this was definitely the best of the bunch so far.
And actually, it wasn't just the best of the bunch. It wasn't just better than terrible. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I would drink this.
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna be a little bit more health conscious, try to omit some sugar from my diet, I would make this probably, every day. It's a really good, easy drinking drink.
I mean, the punchline here is that sparkling water makes a huge difference. You also have the element of the mint leaves, which really adds an extra element of flavor. It makes it more interesting. It's really a delicious cocktail. You've got the effervescence. So that's something that you can definitely work with. And the nice thing there is you've got a template that you can work with. Again, This is kind of to talk about the cocktail family theme. You could do the same thing. You could almost take your whiskey sour, go ahead, add some sparkling water, and you can even add another flavor, like for example, vanilla extract, and you'd be following the same template, and you'd probably end up with something a little bit more drinkable.
More tasty, absolutely. And there's all kinds of avenues for infusions and experimentation, so you can definitely work on this as a template, as Julia mentioned, and have fun, have a great time with it, have some great cocktails, and tell us what you're drinking too.
Yeah, we definitely love to hear it in the comments. So, happy low carb January. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
And I hope you enjoy your Skinny Mojito.